Ladies and gentlemen, we are here, season 4 of Big Juice. Draft just got done last night, and yeah, so thought I'd talk about my team, thoughts going into the draft, all that. So, by the way, draft order for my team was top left to bottom right, and yeah, so let's get into it. Gambit, been hyping this guy up for past couple weeks. Um, after I won finals and I knew I was a guaranteed first pick, I started looking. I thought about some things. Even if I didn't win finals, I was still gonna look at Gambit, although I wasn't sure if I was gonna get it. But second I knew I won finals, I knew I wanted Gambit. I mean, just even in a restricted format like Scarlet and Violet, it's a top usage mod for like the past 2 or 3 months. Super, super hard to deal with. The bulk is just absolutely incredible in this guy. And in Nat decks, where you have Pursuit and Knockoff, this thing becomes very scary very quick. Supreme Overlord honestly has 3 amazing abilities. Pressure being the worst of the 3, but still pretty decent. Supreme Overlord, that's the bread and butter. But Defiant, which, as you can see with the Glamour and Araquanid, really pairs nicely, because you want to get rid of my hazards, which I have a lot on this team. If you want to get rid of them hazards, I mean, go for it. You're going to give my boy Musashi, which is what we're naming our Gambit, Musashi, you're going to be giving him MSD. And I think that's going to throw people off because they're going to just default expect and prep for Supreme Overlord every week. But when Gambit gets the Defiant boost, and then I don't have to click SD, and then I can just Sucker Punch, knock off, Iron Head you to death, it's going to be game. So, Gambit, really happy to use it. I mean, probably the coolest Pokemon from Gen 9 in my opinion. So yeah. Next up was our first round pick. This was end of round 2, beginning of round 3. And we got Mega Gardevoir. I mean, just typing wise, it pairs very nicely with Gambit. It's a 4-time fighting resistance, and fighting types don't stay in on me. The HP and defense is a little low. So it takes a little bit more from close combats than you would like, but you still 4 times resist. And I mean, just between Gambit and Gardevoir, I have an incredible amount of bulk. Gambit's at 135 attack. Gardevoir's at 165 special attack with Pixelate Hyper Voice boosted. I mean, these two alone, probably 2 of the best wall breakers in the league. Gardevoir, one of my favorite megas. I've been looking at it for a while now. I mean, every season I look at it. It's one of my favorite, but it was tier 1 for the longest time, and I think that it can be a tier 1 mega, but a lot of the times, due to its speed, lack of HP and bulk, because Mega Glade, it is pretty bulky from both sides, and you do get bulk up, so you can, and Mega Glade has a insane base special defense, so even though they both have base 68 HP, Glade can kind of make up for his physical bulk in a way, even though it's already base higher than Gardevoir's, and he's also naturally faster. So Gardevoir lacks a little bit that what Glade has, but it's still really good. Hits a lot harder because of Pixelate. And then once we decided to move down to tier 2, I know I wanted Gardevoir. I mean, Gardevoir, no one hates Gardevoir. Gardevoir is such a cool Pokemon. One of my favorite megas, just personally and design wise, I really like the big dress that Gardevoir has. Just super good mega. Again, super excited to use it. And Titania, Queen of the Fairies, man. This ain't Nappy Titania. We don't fuck with that guy, but this is the true Titania, the queen, the goat. So, the pair with Gardevoir Gambit so far, Glim. Glim in my opinion, is one of the best mons released in Gen 9, and that's including the Paradox mons. I mean, it does two things that... Well, it does one thing that no other Pokemon can do in Toxic Debris, and it does another thing that only one other Pokemon can do in Salazzle, in Corrosion, which... Being able to poison Steel types is very good. I can poison them via Toxic or Mortal Spin, so Glimmora also gives me hazard removal, an amazing hazard setting. Even just as an attacker, Glim has coverage like crazy. Nihilego, same typing, has Beast Boost and some more speed, which is the difference, but Nihilego has good coverage, but it lacks things like ground coverage, which you just bring out a Steel type and then Nihilego gets walled down and back. Glim doesn't suffer from that. Glim has Energy Ball, Earth Power, Dazzling Gleam, Sludge Wave, Power Gem, Flash Cannon even, like Memento, Spikes, NT Spikes, and Rocks. I mean, Glim is so versatile in what it can do. It's insane. Unfortunately, with Mortal Spin, it doesn't give you a speed boost that Rapid Spin does, but again, it poisons things. So you're removing hazards and poisoning things. Steel types don't even want to come out on Glimmora because, again, I can Earth Power them or I can poison them. So Glim really just doesn't... It's like a Nidoking in a way, where it's like you don't have a switch in. You can have a thing to deal with it, but you don't want to switch it in on Glim. You have to predict what move it's going to use, let alone predict what set I'm going to bring with it. I can bring Sash... I can bring like a Suicide Lead with Sash just to get hazards up. I can bring like a Spec set, a Life Orb set, Expert Belt. I mean... Glim can do it all. I'm so happy I got it. I mean, last season I had none of the new mons, which, you know, was its thing, but I really felt comfortable with my team and I really liked it. I have no complaints. This season I have two new mons that I believe are two of the best mons, and Glim, super happy to have it. Just super good. Love them. Glim, the GOAT. Next up, is our next wheel. This was end of round 4, beginning of round 5. I got Rotom-Mow. Rotom-Mow, I mean, just an incredible Pokemon. It gives me another hazard removal, so Glim doesn't have to run Mortal Spin all the time. Great, just utility mon with like things like Will-O-Wisp, Volt Switch. I can get screens up. I can Toxic, like I can Scarce or Specs Trick. The Rotoms, we all know what they do. They usually run the similar sets every week, but again, they have the versatility, and yeah, Rotom-Mow, I mean, again, all the Rotom forms kind of fill a similar job, but the big reason for me is I like Mow more than Heat because I like not having to worry about the Rock's weakness, because with Mow I feel like you have to run Boots most of the time, because the Rotom forms are really good at momentum gaining. They come in on something, they Volt Switch out, and with Heat you're weak. With Heat in Fan you're weak, so you have to run Boots to negate that Rock's weakness, but with Wash and Mow you can kind of just keep going in and out. Obviously Fire coverage is better than Grass, Fire is a better type than Grass, but for my team especially, having a 4 times the light electric resist is really good. Because next up I got Araquanid. And Araquanid, my opinion, probably one of the best, if not the best tier 3. Also, another one of my opinions, probably one of the best bugs in draft. Even just as a bulky water. I mean, Water Bubble is the most, hands down, the most broken ability. It's 3 abilities in 1. Your water attacks are adaptability, they're 2 times. So even though your attack stat is base 70 and your special attack is 50, that is very usable because, again, it's adaptability. So those low numbers add up really quickly. It can't be burned, so it gives me a status absorber. Well, at least burn absorber, but with my team, you know, I have a Kingambit and a Mudsdale, which don't really like getting burned all that much. Even something like Dunsparce or Gardevoir don't like getting chipped down. So having a Will-O-Wisp switch in, very nice. And Fire power is halved. which means, even though I'm a water bug, I still resist fire moves. It's not a neutral hit. So I'm a bulky water that can switch in on them fire types. I can deal with them. And the thing about Araquanid is, yes, it's a sticky webber, but the thing about Araquanid is that it doesn't have the most wide move pool, which in a way isn't the greatest thing. But because of that, you can always fit sticky webs onto a set, and just, if the opportunity arises, you just click sticky webs. Like, most other sticky webbers, like Rabombe, like you gotta, oh, am I gonna be QD, or am I gonna be webs? Or am I just gonna be utility tailwind? Like, Masquerain, it's always gonna be sticky webs. Like, you can QD with Masquerain, but it's not the same as Rabombe. Vikavolt is a little bit more versatile than the others, but in my opinion, Araquanid just 132 SpDef and 92 defense is insane. A little bit of a low HP set at 68, but just its natural defense alone is really good. I mean, this thing is insane. I like it a lot. I'm really excited to use it. It's one of the few bug. I'm not a big bug type enthusiast, I'll say, but there are some bugs that I really like, and Araquanid's one of them. So I'm really happy I could get it. Looking forward to it. I like my guy, man. Next up is our next wheel pick, which was what? 2, 4, 5. This is end round 6, beginning round 7. Mismagius. This is like the perfect teammate for Kingambit. It gives me a fighting immunity, which I didn't have yet. And it gives me a ground immunity, which I didn't have yet. It also gives me a spin blocker, so you know, if I want a hazard sack with webs, toxic spikes, everything, I can bring Mismagius, and then you can't go to the hazards because I'm gonna be spin blocking. So, and then if you want to defog, I have a Defiant Kingambit, so pick your poison. Mismagius, just a super low tier ghost type, super good. 105 base speed is good because my team's a little slow up to this point. My fastest mon before this was Gardevoir at 100. So finally, eclipsing the 100 speed tier is very good. I have Sticky Web, so speed isn't as important, but you know, you're not always going to bring Sticky Webs, not always going to bring Araquanid. So having a team that can still be naturally fast without, like, a team that can work without the webs is very nice. So I felt like Mismagius was like the perfect glue to the team. Gives me another thing to deal with ghost types like Gardevoir doesn't want to deal with all that. And yeah, I like it a lot. Next up is my boy Mudsdale. Now Mudsdale is it actually is insane because if you look at Mudsdale's base stats and Kingambit's are extremely similar. Actually, they both have 100 HP. They both have 100. Well, Gambit has 20 more defense, but he has 120 and Mudsdale's at 100. But they both have 85 SpDef. Like, and you know, Gambit only has 10 base attack higher at 135. This thing's at 125. And even though it has 20 less defense than Gambit, you have the broken ability and stamina, which every time you get hit, you are getting +1, whether it's a special hit or a physical hit, which is really good. Mudsdale just are super reliable ground type. It's always gonna get rocks up. Up to this point, Glimmora was my only rock setter, which is good, but you know, I don't want Glim to be forced into rocks. So having just super reliable ground type that can get the rocks up, I like it a lot. And gives me an electric immunity, which, you know, you always gotta have a ground type in draft. So really excited I got my boy Mudsdale. I think, again, just super good. I think he's very high value in tier 4. Next up is where we got a little unlucky. So we got sniped twice in this draft, and it was Noivern and Dunsparce, which I'll get into a bit. end of round 8, beginning of round 9, I got Noivern, Cinderace. I'll get into Cinderace in a bit, but originally Noivern was supposed to be Goodra. JC sniped me. He got it. I really wanted Goodra just because I really like the bulk. It gave me a good wall that can just come in on a lot of things. Looking at my team now, I actually kind of like Noivern more in a sense. You lose the bulk in what Goodra had, which kind of sucks, but Noivern is actually surprisingly bulky. It's 85 HP and then 80 defenses, which is really not that bad. And also, what was I gonna say? It has recovery in Roost, which, Goodra only has Rest, I believe, so it has reliable recovery over Goodra, so even though it's not as bulky, I can recover it off. It gives me another Defogger, so if I can't bring Rotom, or if I don't want to bring Mortal Spin on Glim, I have another Hazard remover. Comes with Frisk and Infiltrator, which are two super broken abilities, especially in draft. Frisk, I just come out, see what your item is, and then I can pretty much just know you're set. Gives me a 123 speed, which is massive, because again, my team wasn't that fast up until this point. And that was kind of my issue before with Goodra. I was running a few scrims before the draft, obviously, and Goodra, like, it was good, but was the bulk worth being so slow? I don't know. So, having the speed and also just a ground immunity that isn't Levitate is good, just on the off chance I run into like a Kyurem Black or an Excadrill that Chase or Mnez has. I mean, not that I play them this season, but, yeah. Noivern gives me a flying type, super good. Just great. I can bring it like utility. It's a great U-turner. I can bring it specs. Just super good mon. I like it a lot. And yeah. Next up, Cinderace round 9. This thing is kind of crazy. This was the plan from the beginning. I knew Cinderace had a very high chance of being overlooked just because of a lot of the unbans, and there's just a lot of other Pokemon that have been drafted before. So I knew Cinderace was probably going to be around. So grabbing it round 9, just incredible value. It allowed me to get the other things on my team that I really wanted. And because of that, again, it allowed me to get the things I wanted. Allowed me to basically get everything around earlier than I normally would have, which is really nice. Because again, things like Rotom and Glim, if I didn't get it the rounds I got them, I don't think I get them at all. So Cinderace, it was a gamble, but I felt pretty confident in it, so we got him. This thing's just insane, man. I mean, 119 speed, so I kind of control that 120 speed tier because I have Noivern at 123 and then Cinderace at 119. So I really control my speed now, which I really like. Gives me another hazard removal in Court Change, which is really, really good. If I get off to a bad start and you get rocks up before I do, or if you get your hazards up before I do, I can just Court Change them to your side, and then you can't do anything about it. This thing is really good as just a heavy-duty boots like support set with things like U-turn, Court Change, Fireball, Will-O-Wisp. I can bring a Choice Banded with Libero. I can set up with things like Bulk Up. I mean, this thing is just super. I mean, it's Cinderace, man. Like, we all know what Cinderace does. This thing is super good. I didn't even know this, but it gets Swords Dance. I actually never knew that. Yeah, Cinderace, just such a good mon. One of my favorite starters, actually. I think it's really cool. I like it a lot. I use it in my Sword and Shield playthrough. And, yeah. I mean, it's Cinderace. I mean, it's going to do its thing. It's going to do it well. And, it's a go. And, with our last pick of the draft, we have Dunsparce. We got sniped here again. I really wanted Ursaring. Unfortunately, I opened my big mouth and, told a couple people about Ursaring. And my boy Sal took it from me. A little unlucky, but I felt confident. So there's 3 mons I want to hear: Licky Licky, Ursaring and Dunsparce. Licky Licky got taken by B pretty early at round 7 or 8. He took it, so that was that. Then literally like last round, Sal took Ursaring, which was a little unlucky for me. But Dunsparce is actually super sleeper. Um, it's a 100 base HP, super solid. You have 70 defense and 65 SPDF, which is a little low, but because of the Dunsparce now, you can run a Violate. Which makes this thing super crazy. You also have Serene Grace, so I can Serene Grace body slam things, get pairs for days, and this thing is just bulky, man. If I start setting up Calm Minds, or if I just start cursing up with like if I'm like Calm Mind or Coil with like a Roost set, it gets very scary very quick. It gives me another Stealth Rocker, which I like a lot, just having a lot of options. I didn't know this, but it also gets Hyper Drill, which I didn't know until now. I was looking that up just now. It does get Hyper Drill, so I have ways. Like, this thing is insane. This looks kind of stupid, you know, because it's a fucking Dunsparce, but I really do think Dunsparce is crazy. I think it's really slept on. Because again, the Dunsparce is really... I think the Dunsparce line is super good now. Before, Dunsparce was like one of those Pokemon where it's like super memey. But because of the Dunsparce is incredible in its own right. But now that Dunsparce with a Violate is a thing, and I get Hyper Drill, I like it a lot. So, this is a team. Honestly, I still would have preferred Ursaring, obviously. But, however, I think having Noivern over Goodra is actually better for my team. So, I think I got away pretty good. I pretty much got everything I wanted, which I like a lot. And yeah, I mean, I really like this team. Do I think it's better than my team last season? I don't know. It's really hard to say without playing any games with this team, like officially. We'll have to see. But, you know, it's going to be hard to top a team that won a championship, obviously. So, that's that. Last thing, I'll go over the nicknames. Kingambit is Musashi, as I mentioned earlier. Gardevoir is Titania. I think I mentioned those two earlier. Glamora is Fat Boy, because he kind of looks like it. Rotomo is Grass, but the ass part is all caps. Araquanid is Malum. Mismagius is Twilight. Noivern is Scrat. Why is it Scrat? I don't know. I just thought it made sense. I know he's on a fucking squirrel, but I don't know. I thought Scrat kind of fit. Mudsdale is Bojack. Shout out to the GOAT. Cinderace. I used this nickname back when I did my original playthrough, and I don't know. I just always liked it, so I always named my Cinderace Blaze Jutsu. I just like it. I think it's really good. Obviously, I could be the fucking normie and name it Messi or Ronaldo, but we're not doing that. So we got my boy Blaze Jutsu, and we have Sleepy the Dunsparce. So yeah. I mean, every season I come in, I'm like, oh, I'm not making any trades. I really like my team, but what gets traded here, I don't know. But I really like my team. I think it's, again, the two things I missed out on, I got really solid replacements for, so I don't really think I'm missing out all that much. And again, I think having Noivern over Goodra actually made my team a little bit better. So yeah, that's the team. Really excited to use it, obviously. And yeah, I mean, just looking at them, I don't know. It's just a lot of my favorites. I got some new guys in here, the Gambit Glimpse, some of the Gen 9 Mon. Shout out to them. But yeah, that's going to be it from me. Hopefully, we can have a good season with this squad. I'm really liking it. Really excited to use a lot of these Mons. And yeah. And a lot of these Mons I've never really used before. Bisharp I used a little bit back in the day, but not a whole lot. Gardevoir was like top 5 one of my most used megas back in the day. So I have a little bit of experience with her. A little rusty, but she's one of my favorites. Glimmora, have used it a little bit in scrims, but not too much. Araquanid, Rotom, Mow. Don't think I've ever used them. But Rotom forms are very plug and play. Mismagius, kind of plug and play in a sense, but Mudsdale, Noivern, like a lot of these mods I've never used before, so I'm excited to use them, man. I'm excited to use them, so I'm gonna stop stalling out, making this video longer than it has to be. I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully, we're gonna have a good season here. Season 4 Big Juice. Hopefully, we can run it back to back with the squad. And yeah, I'm gonna get out here, and I'll see y'all later.